Hi again. I know you probably thought you were done.
Not really. Because I know there's a thing coming up which I'm going to have to try and suss out.
But it turns out what you're doing here might have some pretty major repercussions on the family tree.
Again. Also, there's something really strange happening. I can't explain it.
Neither of us can.
I'd call it a simple misunderstanding, but it's digging at the pit of my stomach. I just have a feeling. Clark?
Last week, let's just say being the president, sometimes people bring me things.
Just skip to the important part.
Right. One of our janitors brought me some hair she'd found in Ruby Spratt's trash. It was Bonnie Hudson's. Bonnie is Guy's sister. She'd sent us her hair to test potential Roottrees, since her DNA is closest to Guy's. But Ruby threw it out, and I wasn't sure why she would have done that. Especially right before we began testing the tree you provided. When I asked, she told me she thought the samples needed to be fresh every time they did a test.
It seems really odd. Ruby was the one who convinced us to do DNA testing in the first place. She seemed so knowledgeable. I don't like it. You've done more of a deep dive on these people than anybody else has. Clark will keep a closer eye on the DNA tests from now on. You have an eye for anomalies. We need you to find the smoking guns.
If there's anyone you're 100% positive can't be a Roottree,
or any you've got definitive evidence are Roottrees, then we might be able to catch Ruby in a lie.
Okay. Let's whack your picture in, first of all. These are apparently wrong, and thus it must be the other way around. Okay. Inconsistencies. Filling in this person is optional. Review all possible Roottrees and input your deductions. You'll then be able to end your search and reveal the truth. 13 possible Roottrees left to identify. Okay. What are we doing here exactly? So we've got a bunch of boxes, smoking guns. Say is not, and might be. This new piece of evidence we have first. After putting together the tree, company's lawyers caught throwing away the DNA samples from Bonnie Hudson. Verify which people in the data boxes are almost certainly legitimate, very unlikely to be legitimate, and which are too ambiguous to make a decision one way or the other. Additionally, with the suspicion on Ruby Spratt, it's possible that some of her behaviours in the past have been cast into doubt. A new section of the tree has been added for you to fill in. Oh boy. There's also apparently at least a few pieces of evidence I've not found on a couple of these. The first one I clicked on. Yeah. Okay, so there's a bunch of evidence I don't even have. Ugh. Let's just begin from up here. Well, there's a bunch of clues I'm missing, apparently. That's great. So, what? I'm way back up here. Archived. How did we even get here? Archived evidence. Magazine, silver screen, pasting. How am I missing quite so many things on this guy? "12 pieces of evidence and we have 4 of them. What? Okay. I need to do far more of a deep dive there. Let's try and fill in the ones where I at least have all of the evidence. Doesn't really mention anything solidly. That's pretty useless. I mean, this is kinda a who knows. It's very ambiguous. Down here. A lot of the stuff with Guy, I think, is gonna be a who knows. Unmarried, we really don't have anything on Nia. I don't know. I'm missing something on that one. Cool. Dun, dun. This, I'm gonna say, is probably not. This is a probably yes, because there was already some DNA testing done. So I'm gonna say probably yes, probably no. This, I think it's really impossible to say. You are definitely not. Because you're adopted. You... Elias knew Beth, but... I mean, probably no, but I don't think we can prove it either way. Ba, 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 ba. think this is a solid no. It just doesn't make any sense for it to be a yes. Like, at all. Curious why you're on the maybe list at all. It feels like I'm missing something. There's too much evidence missing off of this list for me to be comfortable. This. Ooh. This is pointing me back here. Why is this pointing me back here? Ooh. Ooh. Okay. So, we're saying... that this test could have been faked. Okay, I need to go back to this tab. Not sure this is correct anymore. Okay. Still can't grab either of those, though. But how am I gonna find more information on who you are? Anonymous woman claimed to have an affair with Guy Hudson while she was working as his secretary. She and another woman were hired at the same time. Okay. That's relevant. Typewriter experience is relevant. Right, let's cross-reference this with... Why is this still pointing out there's evidence here? Probably because of the name Anonymous. So this needs cross-referencing with our company records. This is too early. There's Joanna, though. Next. Okay, there's 2 here, there's 2 here. 2 here. Okay. From the top, we need to relook into all of these names. One, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6. Catherine, I don't care because she's not hired at the same point as somebody else, so can't be relevant. Okay. Well, it's only 6 names we need to look at. Am I gonna get anything relevant is putting them into the search box. You are probably ruled out. Yeah. None of those produce anything because they're not specific enough. All we've done is ruled one person out. Got 2 Al Lewises, which is kind of interesting. Her insurance resides in Pennsylvania, though it appears she lives beyond the Butler County limits. After she was named in a national tabloid, people have come to her place of work and accused her of being an anonymum. Little explains it's impossible for her to be an anonymum because her only child is still in middle school. Unless her son's gestation period was approximately 10 years, it doesn't look like Coraline could have been involved in any of the potential affairs on your tree. Eliminated off the list completely. Nothing relevant. I might just have to try these names in absolutely anything and see if anything comes up. I know they did an option for that, searching by all periodicals, but you have to go and activate it in the settings. Because it's kinda cheaty. least I know I'm not missing any periodicals because of the achievement. Absolutely nothing. Alright, let's try going down different chain of logic. We know that for some reason you're doing something to obfuscate the results of the DNA tests. Why? Grew up in foster care but excelled at school and under scholarship to study at Mid-Eastern University. So you should have a result for... I'm pretty sure there was a periodical about that. Yeah, the on-campus newspaper. Ruby Spratt graduated top of her class from the Mid-Eastern Legal College. Her valedictorian speech was somewhat controversial at the time, as it was quite serious with a heavy focus on wealth and equality. This didn't go over well with the predominantly middle to upper class audience in attendance. The editor of the Herald said at the time, Ruby, unsatisfied with simply earning her place at Mid-Eastern with a full scholarship, went on to earn a captive audience of her peers with a perfect GPA. It felt like the ideal occasion for a celebration of an undoubtedly incredible individual. However, by the end of her speech, there were many in the audience that wished neither of these events had transpired. It was a passionate attempt to use her soapbox to proselytize her fellow students and their parents into the religion of poverty, but unfortunately, judging by their silence, they remained unconverted. Okay. Enterprises. Can I find anything else out about you? Brief lawsuit. Guy Hudson's photographs. I don't think that's actually relevant to what we're currently looking in for. Ruby Spratt was featured in the Portland Telegraph when she was in high school in an article called Local Teen Making Change for Foster Care System. According to the article, Ruby Spratt grew up in the foster care system, was apparently the valedictorian of her school, and was a Girl Scout who, at the time of the article, was earning her Gold Award. This required a project to help the community, and Ruby chose to raise money to build a fountain she called Foster Fountain. The fountain has a few small pedestals that stick up high above the water. People are expected to toss coins into the fountain for good luck and will be encouraged to aim for the top of the pedestals. All the coins scraped from the bottom are slated to be donated to Portland's foster care system. A coalition of local businesses that sponsor the fountain have committed to matching any other donations that successfully land on the targets. Cool. Fountain of Youths, also known as Foster Fountain, is a fountain found in a small park in Portland. All proceeds from change thrown in are donated to the foster care system. Our website for Portland's Parks and Recreation mentions under a trivia section that the Fountain of Youths was originally conceived by Ruby Spratt, an alumni of the foster care system. As more businesses signed on as sponsors, it grew in scope beyond even Spratt's original hopes. The fountain is unique because it has special targets that theatres can aim their coins towards. If a coin lands on one of these targets, each of the sponsor businesses matches it. This isn't a huge amount of money from each business, but more than 100 businesses have agreed to participate, so each penny becomes $1. Not helpful to me, but very interesting nonetheless. I wonder if that's based off the real thing somewhere. And nothing else. We could also search for a bunch of random characters. What's our company's name again? Ruby Legal Enterprises. I guess I'll search everything for that too. The lawsuit again. Yeah, this isn't really going anywhere. S. Is there... Can we work out her surname using these, perhaps? Is there a Corrine in here anywhere? Yes. That's you again. Probably means the person we're looking for hired at the same time is Beatrice Watts. So I'm gonna say... And you are a department store manager. Manufacturing, no. No, 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 no. Retail. How we're gonna get pictures of these people? Well, I've got absolutely no idea. And you are probably... Courtney May Watts. Of currently unknown occupation. You're the one that's already been found a couple of times, right? Yeah, the one that's being harassed. Let's search for... Aha! This is great news. That is a correct name. Courtney May Watts has a simple website with black text on a white background and a few images. From the view count you can tell you're one of only a few hundred people who's visited it. She's not shy about claiming she is Jane Doe Roottrees. As proof, she has posted an unobscured cover from the time she was featured on Newstime, as well as a different picture of herself that appears to be a wedding photo. The website seems to be created in defense of her mother, who has been the target of public scrutiny. Under the headline, The True Story of Jane Doe Roottrees, courtesy of Courtney May Newton, formerly Watts, Courtney May writes, "Everyone has everything wrong. My mom approached the Roottrees before 5Ps was even on the cover of Newstime. Nobody at the Roottrees company took us seriously. They only listened to us after we appeared on TV and in magazines. The site has a scanned letter from the Ruby legal group to Courtney May's mother, Beatrice. Highlighted. In very polite legal terms, it seems to accuse her of exploiting their name and orders her to leave the Roottrees alone. It's dated from a few weeks before the 5Ps article appeared in Newstime and seems legitimate. Courtney May also discusses her mother's magazine feature in more detail. Do you know how difficult it was to convince anyone to tell our story? My mom didn't want to show her face because everyone in the media we approached assumed she was lying because her story was just like 5Ps, but my mom's story was first. Mom was advised by Ryan and Cork to tell Newstime that seeing 5Ps on the cover was what inspired her to go public. That's the only way Newstime would agree to it and help her get it on TV, but it's not true, our story was first." Courtney's defense continues, but much of it seems repetitive and useless. Towards the end of the page, she discusses the DNA test and defends her mother's character. "My mum is amazing. She's the nicest woman in the world. She has diabetes and works at a department store, but still managed to help pay for my apartment in the big city so I could stay with my high school sweetheart. I got a degree in nursing, so I learned about DNA in college, but I'm beginning to think it's all a lie. Mom is 100% confident there's nobody else who could be the father. Either they did the test wrong, or DNA is complete BS. She is not a liar." Ryan and Cork. An unremarkable law firm based in North Carolina named after its senior partners Winston Ryan and Gregory Cork. The firm mostly handles local cases and recently represented Anonymom. The website has a section about the case, including a scan of the DNA test results that proved Jane Doe Roottrees was not a Roottrees. Nothing relevant. Nothing relevant. Didn't think so. What else did I want to highlight? Courtney May Newton. Okay. so we have someone here with the surname Newton. And I think we're going to have their picture in just a second as well. I'll go with nurse. Yeah, okay, I found all the smoking guns. Lovely. Let's see these new pieces of evidence. We have our unobscured cover. Very good. Courtney May once posted this photo on her website to prove her identity. Courtney May and Danny, together forever. We'll go with Daniel Newton, then. For whom we do in fact have a picture. Fantastic. DNA test you got from the website for the law firm Ryan and Cook. The test says there was virtually no chance that the mum's daughter, Courtney May, was a Rootree. It lists that DNA from a Jane Doe was tested against the DNA of Bonnie Kellogg Hudson, his twin sister. Ryan and Cook, who is representing another mum, have confirmed the sample they sent to the Rootrees was definitely Courtney May's hair. The test is from a company called Dinatico, and a doctor has circled the results and signed the paper. Adrian Rowland, PhD. Likelihood the candidates are related is approximately 200 to 1. Dinatico, pronounced Dinatico, is a DNA testing company. DNA testing is a relatively new phenomenon that allows scientific laboratories to prove a possible family relationship between two people. It's fairly cutting edge. The method by which they test samples has only become standard in the last decade, as of the early 1990s. According to their site, Dinatico was responsible for the DNA test that proved Felix Fellows was a Rootree, and even use it as an example of how a DNA test works. They use it to provide some information about their process. Whenever they take a sample in person, they always put the name of the person on the test according to their legal ID, which is why it says David instead of Felix. Because Guy Hudson is dead, and there is no known DNA source for Guy, they tested Felix's hair versus a hair sample sent from the Rootrees. It's listed as Jane Doe because it wasn't collected in person, but the Rootree company let them know it was from Bonnie Kellogg, Guy Hudson's sister. This is why it says it is a parental aunt test. The left and right sets of numbers are essentially signatures that perfectly match the DNA of the two people in question and nobody else. Although the test works, if that is certain parts of the signature are shared, it's very likely the two people are related. As far as you can tell, Dinatico is a legitimate company that don't seem to have any reason to create fake results or hide the truth. Nothing relevant. DNA test you got. Famous test that should prove Felix Fellows was a Rootree. Possibility of lateness is 99%. Ah. guess it all depends on whether this DNA sample was legitimate or not. Which also casts this into doubt. As if one of them was wrong, the other one could also be wrong. I don't think we can really prove it either way without redoing both of the tests with both of the actual people in attendance. This I'm just gonna say they probably are. Does the doc have anything to say about anything? Let's keep following this path. Only song that didn't make it on the Stubby album before it should have. References caused confusion among the fan base. It's argued that the mixtape had to come out in 1992 at the earliest, but let's point out that Fellow's references seeing the movie on his 17th birthday, which would have been in 1994. Some take this to mean the album had been released in 1994 at the earliest. Others claim he was just trying to make himself seem older in response to some of the more questionable lyrics. He stated multiple times he was just a dumb kid when it released. Ooh. That's interesting. That makes me more inclined to believe the dates can't line up. Been blessed. Nothing relevant. Nothing relevant. Ugh. Forgotten how he even spelled this stupid moniker of his. Like that. Attractive and popular enough that his music is not targeted toward teen girls, they seem to be paying attention anyway. When he hasn't done any interviews with the magazine, they've listed him among the hunky hotties for the past few months with small bios that tell you various facts about him. This includes his real name, his birthday, February 9th, 1977, his star sign and where he grew up. A letter to the editor also claims it's not possible that he was born in 1977, as he claimed on a song called 17 magazine that he turned 17 in 1992. The editor responds with a statement that they've reached out to his agent to ask about the song, were told it wasn't performed by 5Ps and they shouldn't print rumours. They love an unreleased and controversial song. A few mentions of it in sites claiming it was in the first release of the first mixtape, but removed. No audio or visual evidence of it existing, but there are independent accounts of people who have claimed to have heard it, and they do generally line up. According to their recollection, it was about mostly loosely connected occurrences of the number 17, mostly violent. The intro states it was written on Davy's 17th birthday and involved a fictional but glorified series of murders at a fashion show for a teenage magazine with a similar name to the song title. The person doing the violence was apparently trying to beat Dahmer's high score. Jeffrey Dahmer had pleaded guilty to killing 16 people in 1992. Due to major acts of gun violence in schools earlier this year, and the subsequent backlash against violent music and video games, it's generally considered in very poor taste to bring it up. Most of the people that enjoy mentioning it online are either trolls trying to shock people, or come from the morbidly curious corners of the internet. Did it? I didn't even notice. Fountain of Youths. Right. And you probably want me to search Portland Telegraph. I found an article about the dedication ceremony for the local Portland landmark called the Fountain of Youths. Apparently, at the unveiling of the fountain, the mayor of Portland made a speech and there were performances by multiple local entertainers, as well as a ribbon cutting for the people most instrumental in bringing the fountain into fruition. The article calls out that all of the performers and speakers, with the exception of the mayor, were foster care alumni and most of them grew up together as close friends. This includes poets, musicians, and dancers. Dirty Davy was listed as one of the musicians. So, I think what we're saying here is... Ruby Spratt and David Fellows know one another. If it was discovered that David was a Rootree, he would get a lot of money. Some of that could find its way to Ruby if Ruby faked DNA results using her position as a lawyer for the company and falsified the test to show that David was a Rootree. This, however, puts Ruby on a very slippery slope. Because now she's faked one set of test results in order to not be found out in the future. She kinda has to fake more of them. I think I'm gonna claim that. Business watch. This means this is actually possible. We know this already. Doesn't seem relevant. You're just getting me to look up a whole bunch of people. Send divorce papers. Ooh. This all goes to the same place. Issues and uncontrollable movements in the limbs. If a symptom offsets somewhere between 30 and 50, typically live another 15 to 18 years. Passed from parent to child. If a parent has the disease, there's a 50-50 chance their child will get it. Cannot be passed on recessively, meaning it cannot skip a generation. In other words, if someone with a mother or father has it, but they themselves do not receive it from their parent, their children and grandchildren, so on, will never have it. Just get me to find out a whole bunch of old information. Yeah. I think that kind of might just change this to an I don't know. I mean, either way. Either way, Gwyn's the mother. As far as I know. I'm happy enough with this, I think. I might change these to an impossible to prove because, I don't know. It's a maybe. A lot of these are just, I don't know. Could be. Could be, I don't know. I am ready to be done with this. Hurrah! Filled in the entire family tree correctly.
Beatrice and Courtney May. Clark, can you swing another test against Bonnie's DNA?
This time I'll be sure to have them verify both samples in person.
Probably a good idea.
Using the family tree you filled out, as well as DNA tests, we were able to uncover the truth behind all the inconsistencies. Clark's handling the business, but I've come to thank you and fill you in on everything we've learned. Buckle up, because it's been one heck of a week.
Oh, I'm buckled, alright.
Actually, that's an understatement. It's not every week you discover your family company is being sabotaged by someone they trusted. But that's the kind of time we've been having. Like I said, buckle up. Maybe grab some popcorn. We'll start with Guy Hudson.
Unfortunately, I'm all out of popcorn. I had my last bag of it the other day. But I'm listening.
Guy had a frankly ridiculous number of potential children. What shocked me is how many graduated from potential to confirmed. We can even prove he was aware of them. The smoking gun was how he used company money to pay off a lot of women. He hid it with a method inspired by his idol, Elias. 5-piece flavors. The flavors he was paying to research were a ruse. He developed flavors based on the initials of the women he was paying. Which was really stupid, considering one of their names started with X.
I didn't catch that at all, because yes, that is a ridiculous thing to do.
Let's start with Christine. Guy was paying her under the name Caviar, but there were some other clues. James was born 9 months after Zach's party. Christine was there with Guy, and when she got pregnant, she panicked. Steve stepped up. He even turned it into one of his recipe stories. Not all of Guy's affairs led to offspring. He may have slept with Robin Martin, but she didn't have children, so we'll never know. Also, not every child of Guy's affair partners were his. Robert Garland was born after his parents had already moved to Boston. Skipping Beatrice for now. Up next is Lang Xin-yu. When Guy showed up in China, she was into America. And Americans. Dare I say redheads, even?
I should have paid closer attention to dates, apparently.
When she got pregnant, her father paid key genes to fake IVF. They claimed her sister was unable to conceive, but her sister and Jerry had their own son, Mark. Sonia Alves was soon after. Nia was married at a very young age to a much older husband. She resented him. I don't blame her. They allegedly spent no time together in private. Guy was in Brazil during Christmas 1979. It's the only Christmas not in the records. Flavio was born 9 months later, and like the others, Guy started paying Sonia. Last was Susan Ford, hired to translate for Guy's overseas trips. It's easy to read into Guy's donation to her school, but there's no definitive proof there. She and Guy were witnessed together near the end of his life. Susan's husband was convinced he couldn't be the father of her daughters. Guy, though, paid double. The price of twins. So, what about 5 Ps? Felix Fellow's mother, Joanna, doesn't have a 5 pieces flavor. On top of that, his story doesn't really add up. His mother already left the company by the time Guy became president, and his lyrics indicate he was born sometime around 1975. Alone, that wouldn't necessarily prove it. But there are some suspicious connections between Felix and the company's current lawyer, Ruby Spratt.
Yup.
They both grew up in Portland, in foster care, and according to the local paper, they definitely knew one another. Ruby was the one who approached the Roottrees to begin with. It was all a setup. Ruby and Felix saw my book's challenge to the Clancet Trust as an opportunity. His mother really had worked for Roottree, and Ruby was a respected lawyer. She exploited my family's greed, worked her way into control of the trust, and ensured Felix got a piece. But they made some mistakes along the way. If you look at the 2 DNA tests that Ruby handled, they were both supposedly tested against Bonnie Hudson. But the 2 signatures that should both represent Bonnie don't match. After Clark and I confronted her, Ruby lawyered up. Ironic, I know. We suspect Ruby had Donatico test Felix against his own mother's DNA. He had a hairbrush of hers. They sent the female sample in remotely. On the second test, Bonnie's sample was tested locally, but Courtney May's was not. Ruby's been throwing away samples. We think she sent her own hair instead of Courtney May's, but it could have been anyone's. Ruby and Felix were in cahoots. As for why, they were both advocates of wealth redistribution.
Cahoots is a great word. I should use it more.
A noble effort. But once they controlled the family fortune, they became just as greedy as the worst members of my family. The money corrupted them. They were so eager to personally wield the wealth for their own cause that they sabotaged any other claims. That finally brings us to Anonymom, aka Beatrice Watts. Her tales of guys, parties, and payoffs were true. She even approached Ruby before 5Ps was on news time. Ruby used Beatrice's truths to make Felix's lies feel real, then ruin the DNA test so that Beatrice looked phony in the public court of opinion. I feel worst for her in all of this. While Ruby and Felix stole the show, there were some other potential new family members as well. Miracle Roottrees was less of an open and shut case. That said, it's very likely he had a son with Mary Beth Clementine, not Stuart. Mary Beth adopted him before she ever set foot in Butler County. That leaves Mark. The timeline fits. He showed up about 9 months after Mary Beth visited Miracle, and the basket baby story is a bit too convenient. If that's not enough on its own, he was also bailed out by the sister of Edith Roottrees, Miracle Jr.'s wife, after she changed her name to win that silly contest. Our best guess is that Mark was told by his mother whose son he was, and used that fact to put some pressure on Miracle Jr. We have no real proof of that, but nothing else really makes sense for why they'd be connected in that way. Elias's affair was the most ambiguous. Gwyneth was able to coerce Elias to do things he wouldn't have otherwise done, like pressure to include me in the family. My son even mentioned them arguing about someone named Beth. Combined with Gwyneth's lisp, it's possible the name was actually Bess. Unfortunately, all we know about Bess Williams is that she wrote his book and died not long after, leaving her only son an orphan. The timeline fits with Wildcat, but there's no record if she had any other relationship. Honestly, I wouldn't say we had enough evidence either way. I wouldn't be surprised if Elias cheated. Of course, I'm a bit biased. Regardless, we haven't gotten in touch with any of the Williams clan yet. That means we haven't been able to do a DNA test. As Clark mentioned, from here on out, all of our DNA tests will be in person for both parties. Lastly, we have a bit of a curveball. Ron Roottrees isn't related to us by blood. Gwyn was definitely pregnant, so it's likely Robbie is. When Ron and Robbie went to visit their mother at the end of her life, something changed. Additionally, there have been a few rumors circling around Ron. RR Productions canceled the Guys Like Us remake due to the director's illness. At the same time, Ron's wife Penelope began doing benefits for Huntington's disease, stating that she had become familiar with it. Huntington's is the same disease that Gwyn's former co-star Leslie Florence had. It's passed from parent to child. It can't skip a generation. Because Gwyn and Wild Bill didn't have Huntington's, and Ron seems to, it's impossible Gwyn was his mother. I recently confirmed all this with Ron.
Makes sense.
At the end of her life, Gwyn told Ron the story. Leslie and Bill had an affair the same year Leslie learned she had Huntington's. Leslie got pregnant. Leslie wasn't likely to survive to see her child grow up. And even if she did, she didn't want to be a burden. She begged Gwyn and Wild Bill to adopt her child. Gwyn did. Mere weeks after she found out she was having her own son, she also took in Ron. Wild Bill was a problem. Unreliable and a serial adulterer. Gwyn divorced him and never saw him again. Gwyn had already told Starlet she was pregnant, so it never really made waves when people saw her with a child in Paris. There was gossip during her divorce when she was discovered to be pregnant again. In actuality, it was the final months of her only pregnancy. To lay low, she stayed in Paris long enough that even her own family never had reason to question the timeline. It's one heck of a story, and frankly, nobody could be expected to piece the timeline together, not with what few mentions of Gwyn's past have survived. But the Huntingtons itself? That's proof. Ron suing Robbie to remove him from the Clancet Trust was a huge moment in my story, and a major catalyst for this entire investigation. Finding out that it's been pretty much backwards this whole time has been a bit surreal. So that's where we're at. Looking over the information you sent us was useful. Without your tree, I'm not sure we would have ever discovered Ruby. All this information, this entire story, it's a lot. In more ways than one. Some of it has the potential to destroy marriages and ruin relationships. We're handling it all very, very carefully. But we couldn't have gotten here without you. And with that, I guess our tale has finally, truly come to an end. What a strange one it was. No words can express how grateful I am to you for untangling this mess. Honestly, I've had enough of my family's eccentricities and scandals for one lifetime. I imagine you have as well. And if not, well, there's always Elias's and Gwyneth's brothers and sisters.
Attention, attention, Roottrees. This is 5-piece coming at you from the real world. You know, the place you ain't ever lived in.
You say
Brilliant game. I enjoyed that immensely. Exactly the kind of thing I like doing.
man, y'all are hypocrites, sitting back in your massive estates, built from the cash that your ancestors gave you, acting like
I think I got most of everything correct as well. Just kind of wanted it to be done at the end there, but still managed to figure out a lot of stuff. But yeah, it's a great game.
Yo, it's disturbing, catching a sermon from a geezer who's never known hurt, but blurts out these claims that somehow we're sinners cause we didn't earn it. When all of your worth that came free with your name, you expect me to treat your lectures on greed as some expert creed from he without blame. How about instead, I turn my other cheeks and spread them. When you give me a kiss, you'll know just where to aim.
You say money is a root of all your problems. Let me take those problems away.
Whoever calls dollars the root of all evil, just trying to make small pursuits of real people. You silver spoon feeds, you the world's purest treacle, while real world folks burning spoons with a needle. So once more with passion, tell this poor tragic orphan how your mansions and Porsches are actually horrible.
How I'm better off penniless, grasping for morsels. How one in my share,
That's actually extortion. With your candy ass name, synonymous with sweets. Oh, you wanna call me classless? I'm gangster from Portland, but I play that game. I came up on the streets, the only streets you reppin' are Park Place and
Special thanks to Lucas Pope. Brilliant.
When I knock, have G's.
top off my pockets, please.
Cause the same God that got to steal my mom from me is what he wants, right? For you to live in poverty. And if you're suddenly not eager to unhand that fortune, that's unfortunate. I guess I'm gonna have to take my portion, and I'll do it all legally. Class action, courtrooms, decorum. I way past your fancy ass dormant.
You say money is a root of all your problems. Let me take those problems away.
Bring the choir in.
You say money is a root of all your problems.
cause dollars the root of all evil? Just trying to make small pursuits of real people. You silver spoon feeds you the world's purest treacle, while real world folks burning spoons for the needle. Whoever calls dollars the root of all evil, just trying to make small pursuits of real people. You silver spoon feeds